It could be. I mean, there's some speculation about whether it's the utilities. Now, I'm not saying that it is the utilities. We need an investigation. But let me tell you, I'm working with George Whiteshead and a few others in the California delegation to make it a federal offense if you commit arson specifically that causes or spreads a wildfire, or if you're looting in that situation. I mean, people are so frustrated with the looting, the burglary that's taking place while you have a tragedy, and it's just unconscionable that there have been people accused of lighting fires, spreading fires while this wildfire is already taking place.
All of it has become a lens on politics. Nothing escapes the binary battle to the bottom. And now it's that because of these fires, it is proof that Democrats and progressive policies lead to disaster. What's your take on that from the right?
Well, first, let's just come together as a country on a natural disaster. I have never, in my 8 years in Congress, wondered whether a state was a red state or a blue state when there was financial aid for a disaster. And I hope we can come together to make sure we rebuild L.A., especially because we're going to be hosting, as Americans, the Olympics there in 2028. And there's so many people who've been affected and destroyed. On some of the criticisms, look, there are real questions that need to be answered. There are questions about why there was not enough water in the fire hydrants. There is questions about why the brush wasn't cleared from Los Angeles. There are questions about whether the state could have been better prepared. I mean, did we do everything we could with AI technology, with drones, with technology that can actually have the ability to detect wildfires, and have drones have water that can be there. So all of that needs to be asked and investigated, and if there are failures in governance, we need to do better. But I wouldn't make it partisan in terms of the criticism.
Speaking of relevant questions, I know you, Khanna, and you would not have pursued this type of intense line of questioning about Pete Hegseth's marriage and his drinking that we saw from Democrats today. What was the strategy here, as far as you can pick up from members of your party, about how that was the best way to vet someone who would be in charge of the Pentagon?
You know the two things I would have asked him, Chris, and I saw some of your monologue. First, the big story in this week that isn't getting covered: China has $1 trillion trade surplus. How are we allowing this to happen? They're building ships, they're building drones, they're building steel, and we've got almost $1 trillion trade deficit. I'd ask Pete Hegseth, what are you going to do to reverse that, to make sure that we actually have a defense industrial base? Because, by the way, when I was in Japan, the commitments we made to give the Japanese weapons, we can't fulfill them because our defense industrial base isn't allowing it. And the second thing I'd ask him is Michael Bloomberg's op-ed in the Washington Post today. I heard Senator Coleman saying he's going to be a disruptor. It's easy to throw around the word disruptor. I'd say, okay, you want to be a disruptor? Are you going to do what Bloomberg's commission is recommending, have 15% of the Pentagon budget for new, innovative, competitive technology because the five primes aren't cutting it, because our defense base is atrophying, and we're not going to be competitive? You want to be a disruptor, commit to doing that. I'm not saying the other questions don't matter, they go viral, it's a gotcha moment, it's scoring our points, some of it are fair, but I wish we had at least, a third of the hearing on what's actually going to help America win the 21st century and lead. There was very little discussion on any of that.
Last thing for you, Ro, and I appreciate you being here tonight and being a fair broker, despite party allegiance. Where is the hope? With what I saw today, where the Republicans were more interested in DEI as a threat to the country than anything else. With all due respect to Norm Coleman, I did not see the diversity of interest that they had with the diversity issue itself. And on the Democrat side, it seemed like just a gotcha fest to me, that it's almost as if that's all that matters, even in the most deliberative body in the world. What is the hope that people can be better than just advantage against the other party?
Obviously, the questions on policy about women's role and equality in the military, they were fine. But one of the things, I was talking to a colleague, and I said, you know what, there are a lot of people in this country who have had an issue with drinking, and then they get better. and they rehabilitate themselves. And we probably don't want to be judgmental on all of those folks. And you know, there are a lot of people who've had failed marriages and don't have perfect lives. And we probably don't want to write off all of those folks. Wasn't that part of the lesson of 2024, that our party needs to not look down on people, not be judgmental, not be sanctimonious, have some grace and understanding? The hope, Chris, though, is that more people in my party are saying we want to stop the demonization, the condescension. We want to listen. We're all Americans. We want to find some common ground. I have a lot of respect, even though I disagree with J.D. Vance. My wife knows his wife, Usha Vance. If he has good ideas, I want to work with him. And my hope is a new generation is going to put this country forward and first.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.